Imagine shaking hands on a $100 billion deal to power the future of AI, and a few months later, the money suddenly freezes. That's what's happening right now between NVIDIA and OpenAI, the two most powerful names in artificial intelligence. Today, I'll show you why this mega deal has reportedly stalled, how it could reshape the AI power map, and why this failed deal might secretly be NVIDIA's smartest move yet. Watch until the end because the twist is not what most headlines are telling you. In late 2025, OpenAI and NVIDIA announced a massive partnership, around 10 gigawatts of NVIDIA systems dedicated to OpenAI's models. That's the equivalent of several giant AI data centers, all built around NVIDIA's GPUs and networking. Think high-end accelerators plus NVIDIA's full software stack. To back this, NVIDIA was prepared to invest up to $100 billion into OpenAI as those systems rolled out, essentially getting equity in exchange for the hardware and infrastructure it was providing. For OpenAI, this meant a locked-in pipeline of the world's best AI compute. For NVIDIA, it meant a deep stake in one of the most influential AI labs on the planet. Here's the part most casual investors miss. The original announcement was more of a framework than a final marriage. NVIDIA itself said there was no assurance that a definitive agreement would be reached, even after announcing the $100 billion figure. In other words, this was a letter of intent and a roadmap, not a fully signed, sealed, and delivered contract. That distinction matters because it meant both sides kept the option to walk away or renegotiate if the AI landscape changed, and it has been changing fast. Jump to early 2026. Reports now say NVIDIA's plan to invest up to $100 billion in OpenAI has stalled. Sources describe internal doubts at NVIDIA about locking that much capital and capacity into a single partner, especially when AI demand is exploding across the entire market. At the same time, there have been reports that NVIDIA, Microsoft, and Amazon have all been in talks to invest tens of billions into OpenAI, making the ownership and partnership structure even more complicated. You end up with this messy triangle. OpenAI wants guaranteed compute and funding, cloud giants want control and exclusivity, and NVIDIA wants to sell chips to everyone without being tied down. So when you see the headline, NVIDIA halts 100B OpenAI plan, it's not just drama, it's a sign that this balance of power is shifting. Let's break down 3 big reasons NVIDIA might be slowing this deal. Reason 1 is concentration risk. AI isn't just OpenAI anymore. We have Anthropic, Google, Meta, xAI, Mistral, plus thousands of enterprise and national AI projects all competing for NVIDIA GPUs. If NVIDIA overcommits to one lab, it risks turning away other high-margin customers who also want priority access. Reason 2 is regulatory and political pressure. A $100 billion equity-style commitment to OpenAI, on top of existing ties to Microsoft and others, paints a huge target on NVIDIA's back for antitrust regulators and policymakers. The more it looks like one company controls both the chips and a dominant AI model provider, the more likely governments are to step in. There have been reports that NVIDIA, Microsoft, and Amazon have all been in talks to invest tens of billions into OpenAI, making the ownership and partnership structure even more complicated. You end up with this messy triangle. OpenAI wants guaranteed compute and funding, cloud giants want control and exclusivity, and NVIDIA wants to sell chips to everyone without being tied down. So when you see the headline, NVIDIA halts 100B OpenAI plan, it's not just drama, it's a sign that this balance of power is shifting. Let's break down 3 big reasons NVIDIA might be slowing this deal. Reason 1 is concentration risk. AI isn't just OpenAI anymore. We have Anthropic, Google, Meta, xAI, Mistral, plus thousands of enterprise and national AI projects all competing for NVIDIA GPUs. If NVIDIA overcommits to one lab, it risks turning away other high-margin customers who also want priority access. Reason two is regulatory and political pressure. A $100 billion equity-style commitment to OpenAI, on top of existing ties to Microsoft and others, paints a huge target on NVIDIA's back for antitrust regulators and policymakers. The more it looks like one company controls both the chips and a dominant AI model provider, the more likely governments are to step in.
Reason 3 is bargaining power. Right now, NVIDIA is the scarce resource. Its GPUs, networking, and software stack are the choke points of modern AI. If it signs a mega deal that gives one customer extremely favorable terms, it could weaken its ability to charge premium pricing elsewhere or let that customer gain too much leverage over its roadmap. For OpenAI, the risk goes the other way. They were counting on that roughly 10 gigawatts of NVIDIA systems for training and serving next-generation models. That's a huge portion of their expected compute growth. If the investment and deployment schedule slows, OpenAI has to lean even harder on Microsoft's cloud infrastructure and explore alternative or additional chip suppliers. Those same reports that mention Microsoft and Amazon looking at investing tens of billions show how competitive this has become. Everyone is trying to secure a slice of OpenAI without letting anyone else dominate it. So a stalled NVIDIA package doesn't kill OpenAI, but it forces them to juggle more partners, more negotiations, and potentially more technical fragmentation. Quick question for you. Does this make OpenAI weaker because they lose a big backer, or stronger because more giants are fighting to power them? Let me know what you think in the comments. Now let's talk NVDA, because investors see that $100 billion headline and instantly think lost upside. On the surface, locking in a decade-long $100 billion relationship with OpenAI sounds incredible for growth, but NVIDIA's bigger opportunity may actually be to stay neutral and sell to everyone. Analysts already expect NVIDIA's revenue and profit to keep climbing into 2026 thanks to massive AI infrastructure demand, even without assuming the full $100 billion deal goes through. By avoiding a single oversized bet, NVIDIA can keep raising prices where demand is strongest, allocate GPUs to the highest value customers, and invest in a wide portfolio of AI companies and national projects instead of just one lab. This doesn't remove risk. If AI demand slows and meaningful competition catches up in chips, NVDA will feel it, but that risk exists with or without OpenAI. Underneath all of this is a simple question: who controls compute? OpenAI needs cheap, reliable compute at massive scale to keep pushing frontier models. Cloud giants want to make sure they're not just hosting OpenAI, but also building their own models and keeping customers inside their ecosystems. NVIDIA wants to be the neutral arms dealer, the platform everyone depends on, but nobody fully owns. The stalled $100 billion package shows that when one partner starts to look too powerful, the others hesitate. No one wants a world where one lab owns the models, one cloud owns the distribution, and one chip company holds the keys to compute. That's a nightmare scenario for regulators and competitors. Here's the twist you don't see from the headline. By not rushing into a finalized $100 billion deal, NVIDIA keeps its options wide open. It can still sell huge amounts of hardware to OpenAI. It can also ramp up supply to Anthropic, xAI, Meta, Google, national labs, and enterprises. It can spread strategic investments across many AI companies instead of just one lab. In that light, the stalled deal starts to look less like a failure and more like a power move. NVIDIA chooses to be the house selling shovels to every AI gold rush, not the partner married to one miner. If OpenAI, Microsoft, and Amazon end up competing even harder for NVIDIA's chips, that only reinforces how critical NVIDIA remains to the entire ecosystem. So, here's the one-line takeaway. The $100 billion NVIDIA OpenAI deal freezing isn't the end of an era. It's a reminder that in AI, compute and control matter more than any single headline number. If you want a deep dive on how NVIDIA is also positioning itself in quantum plus AI, another way it plans to stay at the center of computing, hit like, subscribe, and turn on notifications because that's exactly what I'm breaking down in the next video.